there, people of the internet. How is everybody doing today? I try not to get too political on this channel, but every now and then you gotta bring some stuff up, because if we don't talk about it, then the people in power are just going to walk all over us. Whenever I bring up certain things in terms of like firearms regulations and laws and things that we have to contend with as private firearms owners, or firearms owners that our firearms are private property here in the United States. Things that we have to contend with in terms of regulation, because we are, you know, a country that does that. I get a bunch of people that go into the comments and they'll tell me something along the lines of they'll never take it unless it's from my cold, dead hands, and that's something that I'd like to discuss here. We got a couple other topics to discuss that are kind of in the same guise, which we'll cover later on in the video. But for right now, that's going to be the focus. Whenever people tell me that they're not going to take it unless it's from my cold, dead hands, there's a couple of things I want to point out about that. Number one, it's very clear that the government has no problem making your hands nice and cold and dead. So if you want to go ahead and just come to the conclusion that they'll take it from your cold, dead hands, then yeah. They have no problems with that. They are on board with that plan as well. That being said, come and take it from my cold dead hands should not be your plan to keep your firearms. As a matter of fact, I think it was General Patton who said, no soldier wins a war by dying for his country. They win the war by making the enemy die for theirs. Now, of course, unless we're talking about some kind of civil war, we're not going to have Americans killing Americans. Hopefully the Civil War situation never happens. And our fight more or less stands up inside of courtrooms. That's where we get to battle a lot of this unjust, unconstitutional legislation. So going out and getting yourself killed with the philosophy of the effort you put in to keep your guns being, they'll have to kill me to take them away, that doesn't help anybody, including yourself. All that does is get you a nice tombstone. If you really have the philosophy of wanting to keep your firearms so badly that you are willing to die for them, then you should be supporting groups like GOA and FPC, which are fighting in the courtrooms to ensure that we do not lose these rights that we have, or as a matter of fact, we're actually getting some pushback and getting things revoked that a lot of states have unconstitutionally passed in terms of firearms law and legislation. So yeah, thumbs up for things like that. Keep up the fight in the courts. You know, do things that actually make a difference versus just preaching, hey, if they want it, they'll have to kill me for it, because they'll absolutely kill you for it. We've seen it plenty of times before. We've seen them take out innocents. We've seen them literally cover up cameras and whatnot so nobody can see what they're doing. They got no problems with that. Like, if that's your plan, that's their plan. Now, what they can't account for is us winning in court, and that is what is really doing them in. So don't adopt the philosophy from my cold dead hands. Adopt the philosophy of don't even let them get to that point. Another big one I see whenever I bring up firearms regulations and whatnot, as a matter of fact, I've made a couple of videos about these right here. These are antique firearms. Some of them are modern made, some of them are actually pre-1898, like this Grau rifle right here, made in, I think that was 1877. I can't remember what the date on that one is, but it is an antique firearm. And then I get a bunch of people, I've made a couple of antique videos, but I'll get a bunch of people that go into the comments and they'll say all gun laws are unconstitutional, or nothing should have to go through an FFL, or this, that, and the other thing. Because, of course, all gun laws are, in fact, unconstitutional. They are an infringement on the Second Amendment. However, that being said, just because they're unconstitutional, that does not mean that they do not exist. We have to adhere by federal law, and we have to run modern firearms through an FFL if we want to buy them through a non-private sale. And most people buy firearms on the commercial market, so guess what? They're having to run it through an FFL. So just because, yes, I agree on this, just because these laws that require us to run our guns through FFLs and sign 4473s and essentially put ourselves on the registry that is illegal, but we know the government has, these are still things that exist. And we have to do them, not unless we're going to survive entirely on firearms from private sales, or antique firearms that do not have to be ran through an FFL. The reality is that these things do exist, no matter how much we don't want them to. So going into the YouTube comments and saying, hey, this shouldn't exist, that's not going to change anything. If you really want to make a difference, like I said, the courts are the way to do it. Alright, so, in conclusion, don't adopt the mindset of, you know, I'm keeping my guns even if it costs me my life. Adopt the mindset of, I'm keeping my guns and I'm going to stop them before it costs me my life. Because dying to protect your firearms, that's not going to help anybody. That's not how we win this. And another, just because you say the firearms regulation should not exist does not mean that they do not exist. And I agree they should not exist, but that does not mean that they do not exist. If I wanted to go out and get myself, say, a 1911 that I ordered off of, I don't know, Gun Broker, Arms List, wherever it is that I got it from, unless we're in a state where private sales are illegal, and we are seeing them crack down on exactly that. We'll see how long that lasts and how well that lasts and how well that stands up in court, which is where we need to win this. Unless we're talking about private sales and things under the table and whatnot, most people are buying things on the commercial market. They got to deal with these laws. Saying that they shouldn't exist does not make them not exist. So that's my 2 cents on this subject. I wanted to go ahead and make this video discussing it because I see these kind of comments all the time. So I wanted a video to be able to put up and so I can like send links to people discussing exactly this. So there you guys go. End of the video. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. I reckon I'll show off what I have here because I'm sure some people are going to ask. 44 caliber Pieta. This right here is an 1851 model. 1874 Gras. This right here is an original 11mm, but I got a 410 shotgun shell adapter for it. And this right here is a percussion cap Jakar rifle. That's a Spanish rifle, but it's clearly modeled after a Plains rifle. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. I'll see you all on the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. Shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.